22 years ago, we got the official original release of Grand Theft Auto 3 on the PlayStation 2. Now, it being 22 years ago, I very clearly wasn't allowed to play it because I wasn't even 10 at the time. I was like 5, 6, and it's a rated M game. Well, fast forward 20 years later, we got a remastered definitive trilogy of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. This review is based on GTA 3, the definitive edition. Now, I'm very glad I actually went back and did end up playing GTA 3 because this is an excellent game, even in today's standards. Honestly, the definitive edition has been getting harshly criticized, and I really don't understand why. It released back in 2021. Now, back then, granted, it probably had a lot of glitches and lags and problems, but here 2 years later, I finally got to play GTA 3 and the definitive edition of it at that, and my thoughts on it are that for a 2001 game, it's not really a competitor with the likes of God of War Ragnarok nowadays, but this is a truly enthralling and fun game to play, at least if you're mature enough. GTA 3 is centered around Claude or Cloud, whatever you want to call him, and the beginning of the story is he is robbing a police station, I believe, and his girlfriend just randomly betrays him and shoots him in the stomach and leaves him to get arrested while she gets out and gets away. Now, throughout the story, it's about him breaking out of the police truck when it gets robbed, and basically he just goes and meets all these various mafia members of different mafias, like the Yakuza, the Italians, and so forth. And basically, the story is built around character missions from characters. And while I did really love the story and I did appreciate the storytelling nature of the story, I felt like they could have done a lot more to immerse you. Mainly the fact that they have a bunch of voices for every single cast of characters in this game except the main character. Now, small gripe, but I firmly believe if they gave Claude a voice and some dialogue and written lines, I think GTA 3 would have been just about perfect for what it is. Unfortunately, because of that, the story suffered. It at times felt one-dimensional in the sense of you knew all of these fleshed out characters around you, but not really Claude. And I did like his story overall, but I felt like they could have added more to his story and character just by giving him speaking lines. Now, the gameplay is actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Not just because it's aged by 20 years, but because I figured the controls and all of the schematics of the gameplay would be super torn up at this point. But fortunately, the controls are very sleek and smooth to play through. The driving, while it's extremely erratic, it's really fun. Even when you randomly crash or die, you're having the time of your life just because of how sporadic, random, and just over the top everything is. Even if you die like 10 times in a row via story or gameplay wise, you're still smiling and laughing and having a good time because this is a damn fun game. It's a damn fun experience, whether it's story or gameplay. Now, the controls, honestly, they're not really as outdated as I thought they would be. It's standard kind of third-person controls for shooting and driving, and that's good because it actually works well with the game. The character models, the buildings, the environment, the cars, they're all very 2001 era in the sense of visuals and everything, but the definitive edition really put a lot of polish onto all of it. While this isn't a full remake, and it's clear as day that it's just a remaster, being a remaster, it still looks phenomenal for what they remastered. Now, as far as the gameplay, like I said, it is a really fun game. And even when you die a shit ton of times, it's still really fun. With that being said, with how sporadic and wonky the deaths and the driving controls can be, and I think it's mainly due to Rockstar was trying to have varied kind of driving scenarios inside of every car possible that they made in this game. Ultimately, you get in one car and it'll drive slow but turn and stop just fine, or you get in a fast car and it just goes all over the place. Doesn't really mix well for me. Overall for me, I mean, this is an excellent game. I had honestly the most fun I've ever had in the last couple years at the very least, playing a game at least. And honestly, Grand Theft Auto 3, it sucks that I wasn't able to play it way back when, but I am glad that I got to experience this gem because it has a great story with some problems to it. It has great gameplay, again, with some problems to it. It has great visuals, again, 2001 kind of problems, playing in 2023. And the audio is basically a 2000s type of audio, just re-immersed for Dolby's and Dolby Atmos and the like for nowadays. I didn't really have problems at all with the audio, honestly. The biggest problem I had in GTA 3 was playing through the game, the third act of the game. I don't know if the game just was too big for itself, obviously not for the storage nowadays, but maybe the game was too big for itself because, especially in the third act, I was really noticing a lot more pop-ins throughout the environment, and I always play on my PS5 on the frame rate aspect, not really the best visuals, more so frame rate. And the frame rate did fine, although there were some sputters, but barely noticeable. But the biggest problem were the pop-ins, but they're not even that bad because they're so far out in the environment that you can just kind of see them right before you turn on the road. Overall for me, again, GTA 3, the Definitive Edition, I loved it. I recommend it to everybody, even youngins if their parents would let them, because it's a really fun game. The story is enthralling, and I'm going to give GTA 3, the Definitive Edition, a 9 out of 10. Never played the original on PS2, again, wasn't allowed, and I never went back to play it. But if I did, and it's the same thing as this, honestly, I would probably give the PS2 port of it a 10, just because at the time, all of the problems in the game made sense back in 2001, especially considering this is a 2001 era game, and they had voices in it, they had smooth, immersive driving controls, they had intuitive environment where like the Liberty City Bridge would go up and down at a moment's notice, and I really appreciated those tiny little aspects in this game. It really brought the world to life, and it really showed you that Rockstar wasn't fucking around in the early 2000s. They wanted to be just like Hideo Kojima with every single Metal Gear Solid entry. They wanted to one-up themselves and one-up their competition, and they did that splendidly. So overall for me, GTA 3, the Definitive Edition, is a 9 out of 10. Thank you.